And you're very welcome back to the Irish Wheelchair Association. And we've 17 minutes to go to tip off in the men's game between Leicester and UCD Marion. And we've got our panel discussion, and I'm delighted to welcome to Clontarf Bernard O'Byrne, the CEO of Basketball Ireland. You're very welcome, Bernard.
Thank you very much.
We'll also have Paul Meany, a former chairman of Basketball Ireland and of course a stalwart worker in my old school of Marion College. You're very welcome, Paul.
Thank you very much.
Paddy Kelly, probably one of the best players, and I don't want to embarrass you, to play for Leicester for many years, probably the most decorated player in the club history, and he'll be joining me as co-commentator for the men's game. Paddy, you're very welcome. And of course Catriona White, who has played with Wildcats and Leicester and is our women's co-commentator. Bernard O'Byrne, it's been a good week for you in Basketball Ireland. Your contract has been extended, and that can only be good news.
Well, certainly personally, obviously it's great news. I'm delighted that what I've tried to do over the last 3 years has met with the approval of the board and generally I think the basketball community. So being asked to stay on for at least another 3 years is great, and we have great plans for the next few years. So onwards and upwards.
What are they?
Well, the increase our we can put into the game. Most questions around sport and most questions around development all come back to finance, so that is where a lot of my time has to be spent. So I'm hoping that the few green shoots that everybody is talking about come to fruition. I get a feeling that there is a bit of movement in the commercial market, and certainly our job is to present Basketball Ireland as the great product that it is, and to get out there every day of the week to do that.
And I mean, there's no question about it, and Paul and I would remember this, the rest of the panel probably wouldn't, but basketball was on the brink of becoming one of the really big sports in the 80s, and it kind of reminds me of when I got involved with Leinster Rugby in 2003, and we had maybe 1,000 people at the games in Donnybrook, and it suddenly became the sport that there was 18,000 and 20,000 people play at Leinster games and filling the Aviva. Can you see us getting back to a situation of those great days in the 80s?
Well, I actually have a little bit of a reluctance to compare back to the 80s, because we're a different society now. There are different attractions for people, there are different attractions for young players. So I prefer to look ahead at what's suitable for the 21st century. And I believe that we can create a product, and we have the foundations of it. What we need to do is to sell the product, and I have great confidence that we can do that. Basketball, as you know, is a great sport. It can be a great family sport to go and look at and enjoy the games, and we just have to get that message out. But I think our first target audience really is the basketball community itself.
Yeah.
You know, we have to get them back in, and then through that broaden the community. And I don't think we're beginning to do that, you know.
Paul, are you happy with the way things have gone? You've taken maybe a little step backwards in basketball, but you're still very much involved. You're here with your club, UCD Marion. But I mean, there is a huge potential to take the game back that step again.
Oh yeah, I think my involvement goes back to the 70s with Leicester basketball.
Yeah.
I can remember the nights with the Martin Grinnells, playing them in the Oblet Hall where you couldn't get in with a Marion Leicester game in those days. And so there's been several times in the past when basketball has been almost at the point of moving on. On each occasion there was reasons why not, and I hope that this time round, having come through the difficulties of the past few years and with Bernard's leadership, I think we're really ready to take it forward this time, because the quality of the youngsters is much better than it ever was.
There's no doubt.
That's one of the key things. Yeah. I mean, people like myself were just starting basketball. We were the first generation in a sense. I know it went back another, but in terms of the National League and so on. And now the quality of the kids that are playing basketball, boys and girls right now, is way higher than it was then. So I think, yes, this is really a great time for the game.
So do you see us being able to produce more Paddy Kellys?
Yes, and I hope so, yeah. Paddy was, and I mean the team that Paddy was on at under-19 European level was one of our most successful teams, and one of the things I think Bernard and everybody in basketball would hope is that the international dimension of the sport will be able to be brought back again. Obviously, when we ran into the difficulties, that was one of the things that suffered. But now with these youngsters there, with the potential and the country coming back, as Bernard is saying, I really think, I'd be very, very hopeful for basketball. Plus, it's a great game. The game itself is just a great game.
It's one of the most exciting games you could watch. And I mean, as you know, I've been involved in basketball since 1982, but I never saw a basketball match before Michael McCormick brought me down to a game in St. Fintan's in Sutton, and the leaps and bounds that the game has taken is tremendous.
Absolutely, and I mean you can see it. Youngsters want to play basketball, especially on a night like this. Look where they're actually coming into here to play basketball. And again, I was up in our own club where there was a meeting earlier on today. Somebody was asking me, what were the halls like when you were starting? I was saying, what halls when I was starting? We were playing outdoors.
That's right.
The Cathal Brewer Barracks was the only place in Dublin that had indoor basketball. And so look at the places that we have now all over the place, schools everywhere, all around Ireland, not just here in Dublin. So I mean, it's a fantastic game. We've also got the extra European dimension, which has come in the last few years with the Lithuanians and all the Eastern Europeans that have come in here. I think their coaching potential within the game as they bed into being the new Irish is going to be a great thing as well. So, and now that Bernard and the board and everything and the council are focusing in on the future development and the coaching, all those things that we need to be doing, we're ready, I think, just now to go forward with all of that.
Paddy, as a former player and, as I said, one of the most decorated players around and a wonderful servant of Killester Basketball Club, and one of the things there that Paul mentioned is the international scene. You've also got 5 full international caps. Wouldn't it be great if we had an international set up again?
Oh, it'd be amazing, because that's one of the things that really drives players on, to be able to represent their country at the highest level. And if they are representing their country at the highest level, they're coming up against people of a higher caliber. So all the time they're having to develop, and you're all the time wanting to work hard and try and get there as a team. So having that ability to be able to train as a team and play in Europe is a phenomenal achievement for any player. So to have that, to actually be able to aim to play for that is what you need. You really need that.
Bernard and Paul are very excited about the potential that we have here. I must say, as a fan and a journalist, I still think that we have a huge potential in the sport here. You've been through Killester, you've played at the very, very highest level. There's nothing better than next week when you've got a cup. And I know that the guys here would be sick that they lost an overtime game by a point down in Cork. But it's great exposure for the players on Setanta Live.
Yeah, they're huge days. I mean, to get to any cup final is a massive achievement. And you work really hard to get there. So the guys will obviously be very disappointed to have put themselves in a great position and then didn't finish it out. But next week is a real big day for the club in Demons and in Inter, because these guys, they'll be absolutely fighting for it. So to win a cup is pinnacle of some people's careers. So to get there and to play well is what everybody wants to do.
Catriona, you've played in many cups, you've won leagues. You were down last week at the semi-finals down in Cork. What does it mean for the girls?
Similar to what Paddy said, a great occasion. They'll work very hard. It's going to be, a lot of the times players will have regrets after it because it's, the height of the game, and it's really about nerves and steel, really. Myself and Paddy's kind of ups and downs. I mean, I've lost more cups than I care to remember, but even to get there for your club and your county and your neighbourhood, it's a great lift. And now that it's been shown live, it's fantastic for the sport, and it gives younger kids the opportunity to go and see that. And if they can't make the game, if they're too young or for whatever reason can't travel, it just gives great exposure for the game of basketball.
Bernard, I'm coming back to you on obviously it's great to have Setanta. A shame that we lost RTE when we did 2 years ago. But it's great to have Setanta, and you've also now got the underage games are going to be streamed on RTV, which can only be good for the families of those kids.
Yeah. I'd make a slight correction about we lost RTE. RTE abandoned us, so their public service ethos is questionable, I would say, but that's a little bugbear that I have. It's great to have it on Setanta. I'd also throw in, by the way, that it's live on News Talk Radio as well.
That's correct.
So people on the move on the night can listen to it. I know it's a bit looking at all. We had an experiment with it, and I think on the first streaming we had 3,500, and on the streaming last weekend in Cork it was 8,500, and that was the third time we did it.
So that can only be good.
It can only be good, and possibly it's the way to go. You know, the generation much younger than me are much more into their tablets and their PCs and their iPhones and whatever. So maybe, you know, that's the way to go to target some scarce resources. So I think it's all very positive for next week.
And I know myself that I've often watched here, and we'd have full houses, and people actually that are in the arena here for the games are watching as well on their iPhone. So it's very good. So they can actually get a commentary. They can see the what's going on, and it's very good for them.
Yeah. No, all of that is positive. So I think it all works together to create a very positive atmosphere at the moment. And you know, let me say, we have our two relatively new media officers, Elaine Caffrey and Cian Niall,
doing a great job.
I think are doing a great job. Yeah. You know, our Facebook numbers are up over 6,500, Twitter numbers are up over 3,000, and we have the Star every Wednesday. So it's an amalgam of all these things. And if they all work together, it can only be positive. And of course, the stuff that you do as well, Declan, is greatly appreciated as well.
Well, let's not forget, and perhaps I think the only two of us in the journalism field that have been around is John Corlin and myself. And the work that John Corlin does in the Echo is absolutely incredible. I know it's only a Cork paper. I don't mean that in any derogatory way, but you get anything from a 4-page supplement to a 16-page supplement.
Well, I think
when basketball needs it.
Yeah, I think last weekend they did a 16. Up to the final, they're doing a. It's the second biggest city in the country. Absolutely. It's a huge catchment area, so it's fantastic. Fantastic.
And the venue itself, Paul, is tremendous for basketball. I have to say, absolutely love the Neptune Stadium.
Yeah, the Neptune Stadium and the arena, having both of those available to us, I think is
marvellous.
Now. And I mean, whatever about the size of the sport, for us to have taken those steps in the 90s now to open up the arena was a remarkable achievement. Yeah. And again, there aren't many sports in the country have their own headquarters in that way. Yeah. And of course, the people down in Cork at the time, the Liam McGinns and all that down in Cork, it was fantastic.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to have had Paul Meany, Bernard O'Byrne, the CEO of Basketball Ireland, Catriona White and Paddy Kelly here for our discussion. The teams are finishing their warm-up. We've about 3 minutes and 50 seconds to go, and we're going to take a commercial break.